Divided World, Divided Class by Zach Cope. Section: Internal Colonies and Oppressed Minorities as Substitute Proletariats. The net parasitism of certain countries does not, of course, mean that all forms of inequality and oppression have, as a consequence, been eradicated therein. Nothing could be further from the truth. The ramped-up national oppression of blacks in the U.S. since the 1990s is undeniable. Black people under U.S. occupation constitute an oppressed nation. The U.S. injustice system is truly monstrous, imprisoning more people than India and China combined. The U.S. has long had the world's highest proportion of prisoners, and was exceeded only by Russia for a short time during a state of emergency under Boris Yeltsin. The U.S. rate of imprisonment, more than 1% of adults, is 7 times more than Canada's. What is more, imprisonment in the U.S. is heavily racialized, with blacks, 13% of the population, but 40% of the prisoners. Latinos and indigenous people being shockingly overrepresented. Almost 7% of black adults are behind bars. 1 black boy in 3 will spend time in prison during his life. Nothing like this occurred even in South Africa under apartheid. Indeed, nothing like it has occurred anywhere, ever. Yet none of this proves that blacks, Chicanos, or indigenous people, certainly in the worst position of any of the internal semi-colonies, are exploited, or that exploitation, rather than national oppression and population control, is the chief purpose of their subjection today. Like the Palestinians, some unskilled blacks, and many skilled blacks and whites for that matter, are a people surplus to capitalist imperialist requirements. Imperialist decline and the fascist backlash of the privileged oppressor nation mean increasingly that black property and black jobs are up for grabs. Mass black imprisonment is precisely a product of white nationalist management of the unproductive economy created by globalizing imperialism. Outlying locales of unusual deprivation within the core imperialist countries, meanwhile, typically inhabited by the most oppressed sections of the population, are pockets of poverty within vast swaths of affluence and luxury earned at the expense of foreign producers. It is not impoverished people as such who generate social wealth, however. It is working farmers and proletarians producing commodities for the global market. Much of the time, those not able to find gainful employment within this capitalist system are simply left to die. It is better to be exploited than left destitute. Within the context of entire economies living off plunder, the very poor minority is very often too isolated, marginalized, and immiserated to form any coherent class that might form a viable opposition to capitalist imperialism in and of itself, assuming that its goal in any case is not simply to enjoy a greater share of its revenues. End of section.